What's up, guys? Dr. Seth here to talk about my own problems for once. So, as some of you may know, I fucked my shit up on Saturday at my meet. And looking back, it really isn't all that surprising considering the meet prep that I had. Just because I really wasn't able to train like I should have into the meet because of the hurricane, because of the gym shutdowns, because of having to travel to coach, because of a whole list of fucking excuses that I don't want to really ramble about or really sound like I'm making excuses. But it's just looking back, I did not have the meet prep that I should have, and my dumbass decided to still send it on meet day. And if I were to place blame on anything for that, it's just I did not select attempts appropriate for what I was ready for based on my training cycle. Because again, I didn't really get to handle anything heavy in training. I didn't really get to accumulate the volume that I should have towards the end of the meaty part of my prep to have something to taper from to be into the meet. I really just had to go in and just try to do something without overcooking myself, because by the time gyms opened up again and I could get somewhere and life had calmed down, it was so close to the meet I really couldn't do a whole lot, and I kind of was just going in with what I had. And with what I had, clearly was not enough to make it to the bottom with 804 and to be able to stand back up again. And that's really it. And it's people are kind of, I had a few people ask aren't you supposed to be the guy that stops injuries from happening? And it's in a way, yes, but at the same time, we really can never do anything to truly prevent injury, because shit does happen. And it's yes, we can work to reduce injury risk through load management. And what that really means is just staying in our lane and making sure that we aren't doing things that we aren't prepared to handle. And the biggest reason that my leg fucked off is because I took an attempt that I really wasn't prepared to handle. And I didn't know that I wasn't prepared to handle it until afterwards, because I wouldn't have taken it had I known that things were going to go all poppy, explodey, shooting across the room. And it's as far as the day itself, going into it, I had no idea what to expect. I hadn't really gotten to squat on a big squat bar. That felt weird, wonky. I hadn't really gotten to even dial in my squat, because most of the squat training I'd been doing for the last 5 weeks of prep was lighter, and it was in a power rack, so I had to grip hands narrow. My shelf was weird. My brace was weird. The technique felt atrocious with the hands narrow in the power rack. And then it felt weird as soon as I was able to get back onto a mono with a squat bar. So I really had no idea what to expect on meet day, and I was kind of just going in I'm going to open with my normal-ish opener and then see how it moves and make smart jumps from there. And I thought that's what I was doing, because on meet day, it's my warm-ups, they felt okay, and then I got on the platform, I kind of flipped the switch to get to where I needed to be mentally, and 705 fucking flew. It felt like it was air. I'm okay, that felt friggin' phenomenal, let's go 766. See how that does. I'm holy shit, 766 fucking flew. And then it's okay, 766 flew, and it's if I want to set myself up for a total, what do I think is a good jump? What do I think is the smart jump from here? And I figured 804 would be solid, 804 would put me a PR, 804 would be Canadian 275 sleeve record, and 804 would set me up to go 2K sleeves, and I was okay, let's go. 766 felt like nothing. Let's make 804 the same squat and see what happens. And it's on the walkout, 804 felt lighter than 766 did. As I initiated, it felt lighter than 766 did. As I was hitting the hole, I'm I am going to friggin' smoke this shit. Then it was, as soon as I put on the gas, it was just I felt this just giant friggin' pop. I heard this giant squelching, crunchy sound coming from my groin. And my knee shot out of all things, just because it was the pop on the inside, the adductors let go, knee shoots out, and I just crumbled. And that was it. It all happened so fast that I didn't even really have time to process it until I was leaning on the mono post afterwards. Everyone asked me if I was okay. It was I barely had time to realize that I even missed it, just because it was all so fast. And thankfully had full send initiative, Kyle O'Leary behind me spotting, had his whole crew trained up to catch the shit out of that bar, because that could have gone a lot worse had they not been on their job. So I'm super, 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 super thankful for those guys for being on their shit and getting the job done. Because without them, I'd probably be in worse shape and would probably have more stuff torn off. Because as far as things that hurt, with most of it just being like fully avulged here, it doesn't feel all that bad just sitting here. Like what like hurts right now is my right knee from just having all the load kind of shifted to it right before they caught it. So like had they not caught it, my right knee probably would have been in a lot worse shape. So guys, thank you for the spot. Thank you for the catch. I'm appreciative of that. And it's like, as far as what happened to me diagnosis-wise, what happened MRI report-wise, well, I guess I'll tell kind of the ER story because that's a little bit funny because like the first dude in the ER, he was a lifter. He knew what was going on. He knew what a squat was. He knew what powerlifting was. He was like, I don't say excited to have a hurt lifter in, but he was like stoked to have someone that hurt themselves doing something cool in there to like, then he kind of like bro down and talk about what happened with. And I was appreciative of that. I'm like, this is going to be the coolest hospital visit ever just because I'm used to Canadian healthcare, which is absolutely atrocious. I'm used to like sitting in an ER room for 8 fucking hours to see anybody getting puked on, getting coughed on, or like watching people like literally die next to you in the chair just because the wait times are so goddamn long in Canada. That I was like, this is amazing. This is gonna be awesome. And then it's like, as soon as I got in the back, I realized like, oh, the rest of the staff here has no clue what's going on with an athlete or with a lifter, because it was like, what's a squat? What's powerlifting? Is that a competition? Or were you just trying to lift as much as you could? I'm like, well, yeah, I'm trying to lift as much as I could in a competition because that's the goal of the sport. He's like, well, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this to yourself? Why would you put that much weight on your body? I'm like, because I'm trying to lift a lot of weight. But anyways, and it's like, as far as like getting the diagnosis, like the inspection was like the most hilarious thing ever. It's like, the woman comes in, she doesn't even like really ask me where it hurts. It was just like, oh, she like starts feeling my knees like this hurt. I'm like, no. And she's like, you hurt yourself lifting with your legs and it's not your knee? And I'm like, no, it's up here, it's in my groin. She's like, oh, it's probably a muscle pull. Let's not worry about it too much. So I'm like, no, I felt shit rip off. Like there's something very wrong. And she's like, it must be testicular torsion. And it was like this like 20-minute argument of like, I know where my fucking balls are. I'm more of a doctor than you are since you're a nurse practitioner. I don't think it's testicular torsion because both my nuts are here and my nuts are totally fine. It's my friggin' leg muscles that ripped off. Here's the video of them ripping off. And she's like, it's probably a hernia. Let's do an ultrasound to make sure that it is a hernia. And I'm like, it's not a hernia. And she's like, well, let's do the ultrasound anyways because I'm pretty sure it's a hernia and then we can at least rule it out. And then afterwards, she came back in super apologetic when it was in fact not a hernia and we got going on the MRI. And it took till the next day to get the MRI results in. And as far as the results, like I posted them on my Instagram reel with the squat miss. If you guys want to kind of see it, you'll have to pause the video to actually read the whole thing because it's pretty long. But like the big nasties are an avulsion of the common adductor aponeurosis, the rectus abdominis aponeurosis, the adductor longus tendon, and partial avulsion of the pectineus tendon. So all those big words. Avulsion basically means like where a tendon attaches to a bone pulled off the bone. Aponeurosis is going to be like a word for a tendon of a flat muscle where it's like a flat sheath. So like the common adductor aponeurosis is going to be like where all of the adductor tendons join together on the pelvis and they form like a flat sheath of tendon tissue that connects to the bone. So the aponeurosis is going to be like that sheath of tendon. Same thing with the rectus abdominis aponeurosis, which is coming down from the top side. It's just going to be like that sheath where the abs join the pelvis. All of that shit pulls off of the pelvis. And that is why like every time I move my leg, it just feels like this blurb of like shit like contracting, like squelching around that shouldn't be, that just really feels very, very, very pleasant. But since it's like ripped off where it's ripped off and like since it's not attached where it's not attached, it doesn't feel all that bad. It's just that it feels really freaking gross to move. So like I can get around okay, I can move okay, it's just slow and clunky and gross feeling. So at least I am not in too bad of shape right now movement wise. And as far as moving forward, I really don't know what the entire next step will be because as far as I am aware with everyone I've talked to who's had similar injuries, with the doctors that I've spoken to, the best option most likely will be surgery. I just won't be seeing the surgeon until Wednesday, so I will find out about that and I'll keep you guys in the loop. Until then, I'm just kind of moving as much as I can tolerate. I ended up being able to squat down to somewhat decent depth today, which I'm stoked on. So we're just going to keep the ball rolling. We're going to keep trying to get this thing better as quickly and as efficiently and as effectively as possible, because there is no way in hell that I'm done, and there is no way in hell that I am going to not squat 800 in sleeves in the near future, and then some afterwards. So guys, follow along if you would like to see how this rehab pans out. Follow along if you want to see how things go. Thank you for watching. Share this with your friends. Click like, click subscribe. Peace out. And I appreciate you guys for all the well wishes.